Hello everyone, welcome to our webinar today where we're going to be looking at Teams Premium. The webinar is something of a combination between a product demo and a webinar, very much interactive. So we're looking forward to you all contributing your thoughts. I'm here today with Simity and Microsoft. From Simity, we have Wes Budd, who is Simity's Strategic Partner Manager for Microsoft. Hi, Wes.
Hi, Caroline. Great to be here.
Thanks for joining. I have Gordon Edwards, who is an account director at Simity. Hi, Gordon.
Hi, thanks for coming.
And we have Gareth Bleasdale, who is the Senior Go-to-Manager Market for Modern Work and AI at Microsoft. Hi, Gareth.
Hi, Caroline.
Thanks so much for joining me. Just a little bit of housekeeping. So we're going to have... So I'll come back to Simity actually in a minute to give you a little bit more information for those of you who aren't familiar, and I know that the guys will be doing that as well. But just in terms of housekeeping, so it's nice to see you. Enable your chat. We don't even need to say this. Please say where you are, where you're listening in from. We're going to have a series of, this is going to break down into a series of sections looking at the Teams Premium functionality. And then after we're gonna channel our Satya Nadella, and after each little bit we're going to play a very short video. So most of them are sort of a minute and a half. And then after each bit we're going to have some questions. So that the whole point of having you here today is to make it an engaging session, enable you to answer questions and make the most of having the guys here. So to Simity, for those of you who don't know, they're obviously a Microsoft partner. They're a part of the Charterhouse group and they specialize in Microsoft Teams. So really great to have your expertise today. Do you put in the chat? I'm going to enable my chat, having said that. We're going to have people, anybody in amongst us who, if you see a question and I miss it, by all means jump in. So Wes, did you have anything to say before we sort of launch into the demos?
Yeah, sure. Just wanted to say thanks firstly. Great to be on this session and to be delivering this Teams Premium webinar and this discussion. Really good opportunity to get that message out. So thank you. Just a little bit about, yeah, sorry.
No, carry on. You introduced Simity. I should have said that we'll come back to the sort of Gen AI go-to-market, you know, the sort of stepping stone angle, but you introduce Simity first, yeah.
Yeah, sure. So just a bit about Simity. We've been around for 10 years now. We're a Microsoft Modern Work partner, and as you mentioned, we our main focus is within Teams. We don't just do Teams; we live and breathe Teams. That's what we like to say. It's what's built our business over these years. You know, we help organisations with meeting rooms, Teams telephony, contact centre, Teams Premium, Copilot, and we've also just got our security designation with Microsoft as well just this week. So we've been working towards that over the last few months. But yeah, so, you know, like I said, super excited to be talking to you all about Teams Premium today.
Thank you. And I should have said probably at the outset, and I think this is very much sort of the way that we've advertised that this for you, and this we're going to come on to this, that you're saying that Teams Premium is a stepping stone on the Gen AI roadmap. Journey. We managed to get sort of 2 minutes in without using the word Gen AI though, so I think we all deserve something of a round of applause. But thanks for everybody saying hi in the chat. And yeah, we're going to be looking at, just so you know in advance, and then I'm going to over to Wes. So we're looking at sort of several of the key features. So we're looking at intelligent recap, branded lobbies, virtual appointments. I'm not going to go into these now because we are going to come onto all of these in detail. Watermarking, live translation, queues, Microsoft Places. Have I covered them all, Wes? I think I've got all of them. Which is and the Microsoft places is something that I really wasn't familiar with, which is where you can upload your building layout and use it to request desks and rooms and sort of coordinate. So I'm really looking forward to that. But without further ado, do you want to start talking about intelligent recap?
Yeah, sure. Before we do, Gareth, would you like to just give us a quick overview of Teams Premium?
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. And first of all, just to set the tone a little bit, Teams, our legal community, represent what is a very much an information-based industry, but it's also very relationship oriented. And typically you'd have huge amounts of collaboration that obviously varies depending by role type. And that gives wonderful opportunities for individuals to shine, but also for collectively for the organizations to do work that's very impactful, very meaningful. But there's some common challenges that overlay with different verticals and segments. So we need to protect our employees from work overload, from burnout, and we need to very vigorously protect time, especially in the case of our fee earners. We also need to protect the reputation and the brand of the organisation to maintain those relationships. And we've also got this fascinating shift of online meetings often taking place in preference to in-person meetings, whether it's to reduce costs, whether it's to deliver a better experience for clients, whether it's just to remove some of the delays and wait that happens when you visit individual premises. And we've also got these challenges where we're hearing from workers that they are just absorbed by micro tasks that soak up time, whether they're fee earners or whether they're back office teams. And we want to protect those. So Teams Premium is an add-on to the Microsoft 365 ecosystem, and it's licensed on a per user basis. So you can choose a subset of users to deploy it to, or you can deploy it across your whole organization. And it's really designed to improve that experience for employees and clients alike, centered on the experience of meeting and delivering some advanced capability, but also building in how we improve the world of collaboration when we're more and more in office for only a part of the time, and then working remotely at client sites or from home for the rest of the time. So Teams Premium is this bundle of features that really accelerates the technological change that you're able to deliver and improve the end user experience.
Thanks for that, Gareth.
Awesome.
What Wes didn't say is that I was supposed to ask Gareth to do an outlay of Teams Premium. He's very polite about that.
No problem.
I
We're all
fire
in it together.
myself. I fire myself.
Okay, so we do have, like as Caroline mentioned, a few features to go through. So we'll start off in some cases with a video and some just a screenshot. So the first one we have is intelligent recap. So we'll play the video and then we'll discuss afterwards. And again, please ask your questions in the chat. We really want to make it as discussional as possible. Cool. Okay, yeah, so intelligent recap. I mean, one of the greatest features, I'd say, of Teams Premium, Gareth, like, what are you seeing for organizations with intelligent recap?
That's a really good question. So to start with, I'm a typical information worker in many regards. I spend somewhere between 5 and 8 hours a day on calls. And I think I had a little bit more hair before I started in these kinds of roles. But nevertheless, I spend a huge amount of time in meetings, and there's an interesting statistic that came out of some of our Work Trends Index research, which indicated that on average, for a typical information worker, the amount of time spent in meetings online since 2020 has tripled. So in 2020, if you spent 2 hours a day in online meetings, now on average, you'll be spending 6 hours a day. And this is telemetry across about 20 odd thousand users. So that's a terrifying challenge if you're thinking about workplace efficiency or individual efficiency in delivering impact and output. And really, Teams Premium Intelligent Recap was born out of that challenge. What we wanted to do was twofold. One is we wanted to free users up for those. If you were to take a cross section of your meetings and within your calendar, you might find that perhaps a third of those you're actively participating in. You're having conversations, you're driving a specific outcome, and perhaps 2/3 you're coming in to catch up on key bits of information. Intelligent Meeting Recap was designed to speed up the post-meeting admin in terms of capturing notes and actions. So helping you where you are focused on delivering something in the meeting. And then secondly, it was to give users the ability to quickly catch up on a meeting and perhaps skip one or two. Imagine the impact if you were able to just catch up on the 5 minutes that you needed to listen to for a given meeting rather than listening to the full hour. And what happens to your productivity if you gain another 55 minutes, perhaps every couple of days over a period of a month? That user experience gain is quite dramatic. Equally, from an experience perspective, if you're meeting with clients or key people, what you don't want to be is on your video typing away at the screen writing notes. You want to be focused, present, in the moment, and by handing over those low-level admin tasks to the AI, you're able to really improve the overall experience of meeting together and to get the right outcome. Now, sorry, please.
Sorry, Gareth.
I saw a couple of pieces of feedback in the notes about how does this fit with.
That's what I was going to ask you. Yeah. If you're going to address that direct,
Perfect.
that'd be great.
Indeed. So the intelligent meeting recap capability is also available in Copilot. So for those users that are looking at Copilot for Microsoft 365 licenses, you will get the immediate capability of intelligent meeting recap, which really is automatic. It requires very low upskilling. It drops a recap tab straight into the chat after the meeting. And then afterwards, Copilot users can also interrogate that and ask questions. So are there any things that were missed in the meeting? What was the tone of the meeting? Can you summarize who attended? All those things are then available through Copilot. But within Teams Premium, you get that intelligent meeting recap capability right out of the box. I also saw some comments there around quality and over the period of the last really 15 months, we've been evolving intelligent meeting recap, improving the GBT model that lies behind it. So as of this summer, we will have full parity of recap capability in terms of the engine with Copilot for Microsoft 365. And there's some really exciting enhancements that we're bringing in to better handle things like how it looks after gender, names, etc. So really exciting roadmap for that as well.
Awesome. And just Gordon, from a customer perspective, I know you're dealing with legal firms a fair amount. What does this really mean for them specifically?
Yeah, so as Caroline said, I'm an account director at Serenity, and I look after specifically professional services and legal. And a lot of the time, when you've got a billable activity and you're engaging with high important customers, as Gareth said, being engaged with that customer, being able to not have to dedicate non-billable time towards those mediocre tasks means that our customers are a lot more able to dedicate more time to billable actions and optimize that. If you think the average person probably spends 5 to 10 minutes after each meeting summarizing, collecting those notes, deciding whose those tasks are, or even writing up the minutes so that you can sharing, say, this is what we've missed, this is the actions, this is what Wes promised to do, this is what Gareth said to do. Teams Premium does that all for you. So it just alleviates all of those non-billable tasks that then means that you're able to focus and move on to the next billable task, which for legal, obviously, it's all about rev-recking that billable time and making the most out of your partner's time in the office and time at the desk.
Whereas just in light of time, I think we need to be a tiny bit careful just, and I think there's quite a few questions. So what I might suggest is that whilst you're doing the next section, because obviously we've got a lot to go through, there's quite a few questions which we could present when we publish the recording. But if you could deal with the questions in the chat, Gareth, whilst we're playing the next bit, I think that might help keep us to time, because I fear otherwise that we're going to run out. But there's lots of questions for you to be answering while Wes is the next section, unless there's any questions that anyone particularly wants to pull out from the chat that you think we should discuss. There's quite a few, really, there's a lot of interesting chat going on whilst we talk. Is there anything that particularly jumps out, or should we move on to branded lobbies?
I think I'll continue to grab the feedback in the chat. So let's move on to branded lobbies. Okay,
because we've got a lot to pack in. So branded lobbies, I know, Wes, we haven't got video for this. You're just going to show, you can see in the image. We can go through this a little bit quicker, but just talk us through this.
Yeah, sure. So Gordon, would you like to just explain like what you've seen and how your experiences with customers and the branded lobbies side of things?
Yeah, traditionally legal has always been a very professional persona that you have to give off when you're dealing with clients, both in the B2B market and the B2C market. You have to have the element of professionalism and trust. And traditionally, everyone's always spent quite a lot of money on their physical office space. As Gareth said, probably pre-pandemic, can't believe we're still talking about it 4 years on. But before that, everyone had to go in, and it was always about ink on paper. And getting into those offices, waiting in that lobby until your solicitor or your barrister was ready to see you, and then going into that meeting room, and the meeting room had to look in a certain way to give you those warm, fuzzy feelings when engaging with your solicitors. So Teams Premium is now adding that professionalism and that branding and that sense of I'm dealing with the right people into your virtual meetings. So you can set these meetings backgrounds as an organization, or different backgrounds depending on the user ADs, to make sure that when you're going in, you're actually able to have that, right, I get the feeling these guys are professional, opposed to just getting a generic meeting invite that anyone could send to you. There's that extra sense of these guys are a trusted pair of hands, and that's a lot of feedback we get from the legal companies I'm speaking to, is how do you maintain that professionalism? Why do we wear a suit to the office, and then when we're at home, not have that branded experience to give off that professionalism element?
I do think it makes a difference. Like I'm sat here with my blurred background. Actually, I should have thought to have a Teams Premium background, shouldn't I? But it just kind of shows how far we've come. I do think it, all of these sensory perceptions that we've looked into, for having been online for so long, I do think it kind of conveys a much better impression. Obviously, it does.
Yeah, it really helps the whole. Like from a marketing branding perspective, that having that visual, that physical and virtual world that we operate in, it should match completely. So that actually, the branded lobbies really plays nicely into the next part, which is virtual appointments. So let's run the video. Yeah, go on, Caroline.
Well, so virtual appointments, we've always had the ability to make virtual appointments, right? Like I was a bit confused when we first started, but just to clarify, it's sort of like the new functionality around virtual appointments. I suppose the video will make that clear. So let's have a listen and then we can chat.
Let's do it. Excellent. Gordon, do you want to just talk us through that? Because I see Gareth's busy beavering away with questions there.
Are you happy, Gareth? Will you send any like SOS signals if you need us?
I'll send up a panic note if there's a problem.
Gordon, yeah, it'd be great if you could jump in.
Yes, obviously virtual appointments, it's very much where legal sort of potentially slightly different from any other professional services organization is legal have so many different types of law, so many types of end customer. And I think sometimes we as white collar workers take it very for granted how to use technology and making sure that we're always in front of a desk and able to join teams, know teams quite easily. So the virtual appointment functionality now from an end user customer perspective is getting that text message, getting that reminder. So if it's, law that's involving a B2C market and those people potentially are blue collar workers or workers who are frontline workers who are not at a desk are able to one click join from their device and have that virtual appointment with the solicitor. It also means that you can queue a lot of those. So a lot of the time, the initial virtual appointments potentially don't require a full solicitor. And actually, it's a good way of just queuing all of those smaller inquiries that you want to give that personal touch to and have someone speak to paralegal, but not potentially put them through to the partner or the more senior solicitors at that first stage. So you're able to process and provide that, once again, professionalism touch to all users and all customers, regardless of if it's a B2B with the most high-tech organization or speaking to a farmer about his will or different types of law that require dealing with non-IT users.
And from a security perspective, so back in the day when we were first doing webinars, as you say, I can't believe we still refer back to it, but when you used to have people joining meetings that weren't supposed to be there, and we had all of that kind of carnage which kept us all amused during lockdown. So how does this sort of like prevent against that when you're effectively sort of reducing the steps possibly?
Yeah, so it's a one-to-one or one-to-many. You can set the parameters when creating the appointment calendar, and people can book time in with one person or two people, and then you can also limit the amount of people who can join. So if it's a personal matter, you can limit them to one-to-one virtual appointments. And I think you can have up to 20 people if you wanted to have large-scale virtual appointments where you wanted that person to be able to share within their organization. That's also something you can set and parameter before creating the bookings link that you might send out for people to be able to book those virtual appointments.
Okay. Should we move on to watermarking? I know that we're going to be talking about, which I think this is quite fascinating.
Yeah, so you mentioned security there. Nice segue into this aspect. So we have a screenshot for this one. So essentially, you apply the watermark to very highly sensitive information, and when you put that watermark on, say whoever's joining the call, your own personal email is pasted right across all of the content. So if you go ahead and copy that content that's under NDA and you shouldn't be sharing on social media, it will come straight back to you. So well, I was on a call a couple of weeks ago where the watermarking had been used, and people saw their own email address and they went, can everyone see my email address? It's like, no, that's personal to you. It's your own one.
This is Gareth, great though.
Gareth, did you have any other insights for watermarking?
Yeah, I think watermarking is part of a suite of a set of meeting controls that are within Teams Premium to manage how you protect those more sensitive meetings. Where we've found watermarking particularly valuable is actually in demonstrating your credentials as an organization that takes good care of perhaps sensitive client data. So by putting watermarking on, part of it is obviously to prevent someone screenshotting and sharing. The other is to demonstrate that you're taking seriously the content that's being provided and improving that trust between organizations. some of the wider protections that we have in the portfolio within Teams Premium go a bit further to then help you pre-template meetings, so that if you have, for example, a certain type of M&A meeting, you can the end user can click on an M&A meeting, and the irrelevant protections will automatically be applied to that meeting. And we've got so much more in the roadmap I wish I could share with you right now, that you'll see in the next few months, that are going to further automate that process of protecting sensitive data.
Oh, give us a scoop, Gareth. You can tell us.
So some of the recent ones that you
That was
might
easy.
have seen. I'm not going to share the upcoming
let me
stuff,
publish
but,
this.
some
Sorry,
of the
carry on.
recent innovations have been things like forcing users to have a background when they meet. Now, that sounds like it's not a matter of meeting protection, but actually, if you've seen the YouTube videos of where something embarrassing has happened to take place during a meeting, it can be extremely brand impacting to have a home worker that has a negative impact behind them. So by forcing users to deliver that before they have outbound meetings, you're further making sure that you protect and distill the brand that you're looking to maintain within the organization.
Yeah. I haven't seen that happen for a while, but absolutely. I thought you were going to give us a massive scoop there, Gareth, a world exclusive. We have, I mean, if there's anything from the chat, Gareth, that you think you'd like to air, then please do, because obviously I want to make sure that people's voices are heard rather than just confined to the chat. So I don't know if you want to pick anything out, but just we quite, you know, if we don't have time to deal with some of these words, we might have to do another webinar. But anyway, I mean, we will get to that. But I just wanted
just
to
one
say
thing I was going to add from the chat. Sorry,
yeah.
Karen, it seems to be a lot of people doing a comparable with Copilot and Teams Premium, and you know, where does one end and where does one begin? And the best analogy I was saying to Wes the other day, speaking to a guy obsessed with wine, and he was like, Teams Premium is a collection of different grapes that comes together to make a good wine. And I think, yes, you do get intelligent recap in Copilot, and Copilot in some ways does intelligent recap much better because you can prompt it, you can investigate and drill down further into that. But Teams Premium gives you that intelligent recap so that you are able to be more efficient and speedy, but then also have all of these additional grapes that come together to give you that full-bodied wine at the end. Things like the watermarking, and watermark is just phase one. You then can have fully encrypted meetings in security with Teams Premium for those really secure meetings. So there is a slight crossover between Copilot and Teams Premium, but fundamentally they are two standalone products. And it's horses for courses. When you look at any license for Microsoft or any technology, you want to make sure you're doing a user persona mapping exercise to understand which users would benefit most for which license. And that's where we can do that exercise with you to understand the differences and values of Premium versus Copilot.
Is that how you would recommend it? So I think there's a lot of people that I speak to who are quite overwhelmed with all the different, you know, with the kind of roadmap, with where they go now. Lots of people, lots of firms trialing Copilot, some of them rolling it out. Would you say, in terms of, we've portrayed this as a kind of stepping stone in the journey, is there a way that you recommend to firms, you know, do you say, right, try Teams Premium, see how you get on, and then look at Copilot, or do you say we use different licenses as you just suggested for people across the firm?
It's a full user persona exercise as you would with any license. So understanding myself, obviously being in sales, I talk a lot, I go to a lot of meetings, and I do a lot of engaging in collaboration. I don't do a lot of creation. I don't do a lot of generative AI content within Excel, PowerPoint, Word. Therefore, a huge portion of what is Copilot there isn't a huge return on that investment for someone like myself. However, people who are my more technical resources, who are creating those high-level designs, creating those documents, that has been a game changer for them, and they're sped up. I think they said about 35% in the last 2 months that they've been fully using it. 30% of their time has been saved because you're able to generate documents, contracts a lot quicker, and almost skip that draft phase because it does it, and then you're just doing the review, second review, peer review. So it just speeds up everything on that side. But from Teams Premium perspective, for me, it's about branding, it's about professionalism, about sharing that contract once it's been made and making sure it's secure. So we do work with customers and do that user persona and make sure that you're trialing the right solution. Because unless you know what the win criteria is, you're just trying technology for the sake of technology.
There's a lot of questions around licensing, which I'm going to share in the chat, which Gareth is doing an amazing job of answering. I'm going to share that when we publish the video so that we've got all of those questions answered. So if we make sure the powers that be behind the scenes that we keep all of the chat available as we would anyway. Fine. Do you want to move on to live translation?
Yeah, so live translation, quick short video here showing this. I think you get the picture there.
I have to say, I love seeing Gareth's face there and there, looking at your similar reactions, like simultaneously, like the same face. I have to say, I think this is brilliant for global organisations. You know, I mean, it's a bit of a, I get killed if I say the word game changing to anything, but you know, if you're working with teams internationally and there is a language barrier, this is so useful. I don't know if either if Gareth, perhaps do you have any observations in terms of you know, the uptake or how this is being used by firms or organizations?
Yeah, indeed. First of all, I'd like to highlight there has been a costume change since I recorded this video. I think that's very pertinent to note. So what you'll see with this is Alejandro did not hold back in his dialogue from a Spanish perspective, or his monologue even. And you'll have seen that the tool was able to translate the meaning and the word for word of the sentence. And so occasionally it would do ad hoc updates as it went along. That's purposeful. The engine behind this is extremely powerful, and it's again a little like the transcript modeling. It's being updated on a regular basis. And where we found this particularly useful is for users who perhaps their native language isn't English, and they're able to go back and they're able to kind of hand off some of that cognitive workload of doing the translation, but also through the transcript, having each sentence line by line with a visual of the native and the translated language, being able to go back and check their recollection and understanding of the content. So we see this more as an accessibility feature, being able to support users in those scenarios where English isn't the native language for everyone.
Yeah. Does it cover all languages? And also, these I can't claim credit for these. These are in the chat, but great questions. So does it cover all languages? And then does the language translation feed through into the intelligent recap?
Those are great questions. So we've got about 30 languages being translated at the moment. And there's some real enhancements that are coming again in the next 3 months, which I will be delighted to share with you as and when I'm able. Both the ability to detect things like names, tone of voice, the ability to manage two-way text will all see some dramatic improvements on there. We're seeing that in pockets this is extremely popular. So not every user will find this useful, but perhaps 10 to 20% of the organization will find this quite dramatically life-changing in terms of their impact on their day-to-day conversations. European languages particularly handle extremely well within this. And yes, it does feed through into intelligent recap through the transcript, which provides you that side-by-side translation, which you can toggle on and off.
Is it accurate? Have you sort of, I mean, I use transcription all the time, and it's getting better, but have you sort of measured accuracy?
We have. So we tend to measure accuracy versus that of a human being doing the translation. And I think, a little bit like voice translation, which has been, voice transcription, which has been around for about 15 years, until it reached well over 90% accuracy, then it was quite a difficult feature to use. After that, it became natural. I don't have firm statistics, but what we've seen is that it's accurate enough to be very helpful in most scenarios. scenarios. It wouldn't necessarily be relied on as a translation for a court of law. So those use cases you might still need to divert at the moment to a human translator.
Okay, there's some. I'm not going to repeat it. There's some hilarity in the chat
I'm
about
enjoying
various dialects, which are maybe more difficult to understand. Should we talk about QZAP?
Yeah, let's dive into QZAP. So a short video on this. Think of it as contact center light.
So this
Gordon.
is an alternative to a contact center for a law firm, right? Like, so you would be using this. The help desk would be using this.
So this functionality is coming to native teams to open up the light version of contact center functionality to more users within your in your environment. Chances are that if you've got a big service desk team or customer service desk team, a contact center requirements would still potentially be a requirement. But what this allows is included within the licensing piece here, it allows you to enable some more advanced telephony routing functionality and easier management capabilities to users who you potentially wouldn't find the return on investment on a full contact center solution. So specifically within legal, you'll find large numbers of executive assistants or people who are having to just direct and route calls within a legal organization above and beyond a service desk or your traditional reception. So what this means is that you're able to have that call flow routing functionality within your executive assistance team, so people can manage those queues, and that team media can help coach and report on how that is being pushed through your organization. So it's almost like a gatekeeper tool that's managed more centrally by the team leaders within the organization. Whereas obviously you can make hunt groups natively in teams today. You've got to go to your service desk. Oh, can you add such and such to the queue because someone's going on holiday? And you've no idea actually how busy are they. Make sure that person's off and calls are diverted because they've got a doctor's appointment. A lot of the time at the moment, we're just not doing it and we're picking it up, putting a call forward on. But this functionality means that those teams that sort of conduct the way that calls are flowed within the organization is a lot more manageable. And for £6, whatever the per user per month licenses for Teams Premium, compared to a contact center license of £30 to £80 per user per month, it means that you can enable a lot more users and see a return on investment for that better efficient gatekeeping and executive assistant routing and call handling.
That's a great explanation. Did Gareth, I know you put in the chat that it's not a contact center, it fits the gap between simple call center and call queues. Was there anything that you wanted to add to what Gordon just said?
Yeah, I think when we get into these topics, it becomes quite an emotive subject. Contact centers and call queues are high risk, high reward scenarios, and you want to measure them. I think what we're looking at here is something that provides extra option. So it will not replace a full-blown contact center. It's not got skills-based routing. It's not got an ACD. It doesn't enable multi-channel capabilities. But if you think of Teams Premium across your inbound communication stack, with virtual appointments, you take away the need for an end user to queue when they get into a call center, and you allow them to book a slot based upon their availability and indeed the availability of the queue recipients that might be picking up that call. So that caters for one use case, and it also takes it away from PSTN, so it's quite future looking. And then for those users that do wish to come through on phone, optimizing the cost from a licensing and a complexity perspective is really important. Being able to manage that blend where you're not necessarily having dedicated agents for some scenarios, but you're having quite highly skilled workers that are picking up those calls. The queues service provides quite a rich set of capabilities, and you can bundle that in with the ability to do the ad hoc recording within Teams, the ability to do CRM screen popping, so you auto load the records of the inbound caller using the phone number that's presented, and that's quite a powerful option for really driving down simplification of the overall IT stack.
I think that probably answers the question that we've had. So if we want to move on to, if you've got any other questions, by all means, Gareth is here in the chat. But if we move on to places.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, and final video, Microsoft Places.
Thank you for that. I have to say, it's a general observation. Obviously we're now moving into this. We've seen so many different phases. We all thought we'd be working from home forever. Then we thought we'd be hybrid. Now a lot of firms are putting people under pressure to go back to the office in order to actually, they're sort of attaching it to financial rewards. So some firms, unless you go in for 4 days a week, you don't get your bonus type thing. And I do think that one of the reasons for that is that they have been struggling, like to manage this hybrid world. And I think I think actually that face-to-face contact is so important, but to make it valuable, to actually make it so this makes a lot of sense. Is it brand? So it's not available yet, right? Is it not available on public release?
So it's available in what we call public preview. So it's not formally launched, but accounts customers are able to test it within a subset of their organization, learn how it works in readiness for when we launch it as generally available.
Okay, great. And guys, have you heard, Wes and Gordon, have you talked to law firms? Do you feel like there's a lot of demand for this? What are your conversations?
I mean, the conversations I'm having at the moment around places seems to be very much driven around availability for customer-facing spaces. So a lot of legal firms will have those nice boardrooms, those areas where you bring customers and clients into your space, and you need to coordinate your team to make sure that room's available, and therefore utilizing places to understand and booking those places effectively, but then also being able to collaborate. A lot of this is not legal specific, but a lot of organizations, it's a team effort and bringing together all the parts from all the different pieces. And as you said, we can do 99% of that collaborating through Microsoft M365, but actually that water cooler chat, that getting in the office, making sure as well, not only are you going into the office when everyone else is in, but whereabouts in the office are they speaking? Because if you've got a multi-story or multi-sited organization, and I'll go, Gareth goes, I'm in the office on Tuesday. Well, which office is he in? Whereabouts is he sitting? Is there a desk available near Gareth so I can sit near Gareth and then chat to him off ad hoc around the projects that we're working on currently? And I think with legal, it very rarely is a one-site business. A lot of legal firms have multiple offices covering their region, and actually coordinating your staff across not just an office and home, but I think the future and the way hybrid working is, it's coordinating those people across office, home, out and about, multiple offices. And legal, it's understanding what's the best use of your time so that you can ensure that when you go in, there is a desk so you can be productive, opposed to going in and finding that all the desks are taken and no one's booked.
What do you upload? What information do you give it when it says you upload? I mean, there's some questions we'll come to that are really good in the chat actually, which I know they're being answered, but I'll come to those as well. But how do you upload your office? I'm being a bit stupid clearly, but
shall I
Yeah, I'll let you.
So first of all, I am very much a flexible worker, and my main office is Thames Valley Park in Reading, and often I will brave the commute. I will spend an hour on the M4. I will burn a bit of fuel. I'll get into the office, and I will see probably 3 people on the floor that I'm in, and it's so disheartening because I've just wasted that time. I could have been effective at home. Even worse, often I'll be leaving the office and I'll bump into a friend who's been working on the second floor or the ground floor, whereas I've been working on the third floor and had no visibility. Microsoft Places is really designed to enable people like me to work out when to go in the office based upon when my colleagues are available. And that works because we've expanded the Microsoft Graph schema so that rooms link to floors, floors linked to buildings, buildings linked to campuses, and that entire schema allows us to determine relationships between those. So I've dropped a link in the chat with a link to our blog, and that also has some more detailed setup instructions. But I guess there's 3 phases of value that you'd look at for that. Phase 1 is just getting going with being able to share that identifiable location information, which is managed in a privacy protecting way, and that requires pretty much 0 onboarding. There's some scripting that needs to happen to get it kicked off, but in terms of data entry, it's very minimal. Your second stage is where you start to simplify desk and room booking, and that's where you need to have you need to set up some resource accounts for those bookable places, and you also need to update the content that links the room metadata, things like images, what's the technology available in the room, and that requires a little bit more onboarding. So there's some work required there. And then the third phase is really to get the maximum value, which is where you start uploading your floor plans, integrating some of the systems that you might use to collect touch-in, touch-out data or occupancy data. And there you need probably a little bit more support from a suitable partner such as Simity to enable you to get the full value out of that. But that 3-phase approach means that you can kind of test and gather feedback as you're going along. You don't have to do it all at once.
And there's a good question. Sorry, Wes.
I was just going to say, and one of the key features around MS Places is utilization, which is something that organizations really want to grasp and understand. You know, if you've got a building that can host or have 1,000 people in it, and you only have, I don't know, 200, 500 come in, then you can see that utilization and then say to yourself from a facilities perspective, do we need all of these floors? Can we, because we now know that at any one time we've only got 250 people in the building. At the very most we might have 350. So we can really save some costs on releasing those floors or that building completely. So utilization, and I know that's something that many of our customers have been really struggling with, because it's like, we know we've got this amount of employees, but we don't know how many are actually really in at any one time.
That's so interesting. And I've seen other organizations outside of the legal sector do this really effectively, rent out bits of their room. And I've used bits of people's offices, when they're not used in the chat. So the video on Places referred to Copilot. Which features are available in Teams Premium without Copilot? I know that you've answered that, but I think it's worth revisiting that here.
Yeah, indeed. And there's a couple of related questions here around Places and how we license it and who we license it to. So let me kind of take a holistic view from this. So within a typical law firm, you will have users that are fully in the office day by day. You will then have users that are fully remote, or even contracted to be outside the office permanently. And then you'll have a large swathe of information workers that are going to be benefiting from tools like Intelligent Meeting Recap already, that are going to be benefiting from the meeting protections, that are going to be benefiting from the branding. And those are going to get the most value from then also having the Places capability. So we would suggest that you license those for Teams Premium to get the full benefit of the data that they then provide to inform your meeting occupancy management, so that they can simplify their approach to booking a desk, they can simplify their approach to booking meeting rooms and resourcing, and you can right size all those kind of hard artifacts within your business. At the moment, we've not yet detailed which features are going to be part of the seeded value, i.e. free, and which parts will be part of Teams Premium. I recognise that's an answer you really want to hear, and we are wanting to give that. But the honest answer is we want to work that balance so that we're licensing those that will get value from it, but perhaps those that aren't going to see as much value, we're able to give seeded value to enable them to still be part of that. And we're still trying to square that circle, balance that equation. So as we get a bit further down the line, we'll certainly flow that out.
I thought this was the place for scoops, Gareth. I thought we were doing Come on.
Shortly, Caroline.
I'm glad it's not just me with the so someone's mentioned, I don't know if this is too granular in the time we have, but how is the schema maintained? Is that manually? Is there an ETA on when Places will be widely available? Gareth's going to give us the global scoop. Can you upload a floor plan? I must be honest with you, that was in my head the way that we were going with this, but anyway, perhaps you could someone could address that.
So the short answer is yes, you can upload a floor plan. But if you like, we're not just taking a floor plan, which is a static visual image. We're also got metadata that links information to a specific location on that floor plan. All of that gets handled through the ingestion processes that are detailed in our deployment guide. So the link that I've shared to you goes through to the public preview blog, and then onwards to the public preview sign up page, and then to the deployment guide. So that gives you all the details on the types of files that are supported, any extra processes that you need to do to kind of do the extract, transform, load piece, and then how you actually get that running. You'll see at the moment that this is PowerScript based. We fully plan to build this into the Teams admin portal, and at the moment we're on public preview. So the idea is this isn't a production level service. This is something for you to test and trial in maybe one building or one large floor of your organization, to learn how it works, to learn the kinks, and to be open to give us feedback on what you like and don't like as well. So it's important to treat it as such.
And is it useful? Sorry, someone said, is it use? Did we continue to answer?
I was just going to say, in terms of an ETA, we're hoping to get this out as generally available by the end of the calendar year, so the end of 2024. That's not a commitment, and the exact date we're still working on.
Sorry, Gareth, for interrupting you. Is Places useful at all unless everyone in the organisation has a license to it?
So I can answer this only based really on my experience, but when we deployed that first piece of value in terms of seeing when everyone's available in the office, it had a viral component to it. Users wanted to have that information, and therefore they were willing to populate that detail of when they're in the office. And because it's embedded in tools that individuals use day to day, like Outlook, like Teams, then that's very easy, and the modeling and UX allows us to make it easy for users to populate that information in a way that perhaps third-party tools wouldn't. So I would argue, based on my experience, yes, but I would also say that's a conditional answer, and I think the best option is for you to test that and to try it out.
I think as well, with the usefulness of any license, again, it comes down to that user persona, as Gareth said. If you've got someone who sits in the same desk every day, 5 days a week, and is 100% in the office, we already know where they are and how they're working. It's more, once again, those hybrid workers who you want to be able to engage with and communicate effectively with. Where are they located, and how do I best communicate and engage with those guys?
Yeah, and I do think that's got to be a priority. I think it's just not working. You know, I think that it's a real massive challenge. You know, you know, this is I kind of wondered if we're going to have everybody back in the office again. You know, like that seemed to be the way that some firms are going, but it's not practical, partly because you know, of distance, of geography. Like some, you know, during the pandemic, we've been hiring people who live further away. You know, there's all sorts of logistical reasons why it's when I don't think we are going to go back to ever having everybody in one place. So it's a case of making use of people's time in the most sensible way. I think, do we have time for one more quick question? So will places integrate? Oh, there's a simple answer, the better. So will places integrate with third-party systems like door access controls for automatic check-in, etc.? And Gareth has said yes.
Yeah, that was a glib answer. I think a slightly longer but still short answer would be yes, it does, through an extensibility model, but we need to make sure we'll be working with partners to flow out what those API substructures look like to make sure that the data that comes through can be consumed well. And that will be on a case-by-case basis, so we'll need to work through per provider.
Okay, we have run out of time. We've had loads of questions. I want to just say thank you so much to everybody in the chat, everybody listening in. There's been some really great questions, and thank you to you three for chatting with me, Wes, Gordon and Gareth. That's been great. Thanks, Gareth, for doing such a brilliant job of answering in the chat all the questions, and we will, as I've said, be publishing those alongside the recording of this video. So
just to add, Caroline, as well, so you know, if people want to, again, after this session, reach out to any of us, we're on LinkedIn, and there is for Teams Premium a free 30-day trial, and also Simity can provide a free deeper dive workshop for organizations.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, make sure, and I'll add all your links as well to make it easy for people to contact you. Thank you, everyone. Much appreciated.
Cheers. Thanks, Caroline.
Thanks, everyone, for coming.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.